Hi, it's me, Ingrid INFP, and I'm in the forest. And I've just read a book called Cultish, which by Amanda Montell, which wasn't that great compared to our other books, which was disappointing because I was really looking forward to reading about cults. It was interesting though, because it was about the linguistics of cults and talking about like Heaven's Gate and the Jim Jones massacre where people drank the Kool-Aid and all of that. And so that part was really interesting. What was less interesting was the part where she started veering off into like MLMs and fitness centers. Well, it could have been interesting had she, said that, use that as a way to talk about how easy it is to get manipulated into cults. But her conclusion was pretty much like, oh, it doesn't matter, pretty much. Like, the conclusion disappointed me because it wasn't like saying that, like, giving us a warning of how to not get sucked into a cult. It was rather like, oh, well, anything can be a cult, and so therefore it's okay. And that doesn't rub well with me. I did find that it was interesting how she talked about how Scientology, for example, it invented a bunch of new words, just like in 1984, where like regular words are twisted to mean something different, and regular words are replaced by other words to make you kind of in an in-group kind of thing, and that's what gets people to join a cult. I think it's kind of sad also that she just went into cults that are geared towards women. I would qualify, like, if you're going to go into like online fitness courses for women, then I think that she should also have gone into like courses for men, or like the incel community. Like, she did talk about TERFs, which was the cult I came closest to. So I'm glad that she did that. But she didn't talk about the male counterpart, which was kind of lacking, especially in that I know that the incel community and all that have their own sort of language, and that would have been interesting for her to explore, I think. But yeah, so she missed on that. Anyway, I realized from reading the book that, oh, my mom was in MLM. Now, my mom may not be aware of this, and she did not get sucked into an MLM scheme. I'm not going to say that, but she was involved in companies that were sort of MLM, you could have gone MLM with them. Or you could have like just stayed at a certain level and not give it into all the MLM stuff. So my mom did not like ruin her life by investing in these companies. But my mom was a marketing major. She did an MBA in the US, and when I was very small, I remember that she was having Tupperware parties. Which I don't know why they were called parties. I thought that, like, a party would have like, they would have food at these parties, so that was, I guess, the party part of it. But these were all like middle-aged. Oh shoot, there's a huge spider on me. Okay. She would have, there were all these middle-aged women who would get together, all white, middle-class women. I don't know, I think that's because it was in France, and so the MLM community are basically expats from the US, so they're high, like more well off. But I remember like, oh, my mom tried so hard to be part of this group, but she couldn't really fit the stereotype of that kind of mom. My mom was more like, my mom did not believe in Christ, and she also was, did not live in a fancy house in the suburbs of our town. I mean, we lived in town in an apartment that we were renting, and that my parents are still renting. So my mom was trying to fit into this social class that like she really couldn't. And I think I even so small that I was then, I remember that my mom was not acting herself. And so my mom had all these Tupperware things at her house, at our house. And I remember I was small, and I remember finding it difficult to say the word Tupperware. So yeah, that was the first MLM that my mom was slightly adjacent to. She did not really get absorbed into it. But then my mom got into Usborne books, which she still sells, but we still have tons at our house. And that's one of those things that my mom has hoarded to the degree that there are more Usborne books in our house than there are regular books. And there are there's a whole bookshelf just of Usborne books that she bought 20 years ago, pretty much. And at first I think that she thought it was good because she could get free, it would kind of be like free books for me in English, which wasn't easy to find in France at that time. So she thought that, if she invests in the package of one delivery of books every 2 months or something, she would have books to sell, and she would have books for me to read. So I think that was it started from a good idea. But thing is, it's not going to be as easy to sell English books in France than for a British person living in England, where Usborne Books is based. And my mom had a lot of... She kept trying to sell the Bibles, the Bible stories every Christmas, because that's the sort of book that she would get from Usborne, are all of these Bible stories for children. And none of us were interested in reading those. I mean, I read them because, this was before the internet. I did not have much of... It wasn't before the internet, but it was before we were chronically online like we are now. So I was reading and rereading the same books over and over, and so I was grateful to have all of these books that my mom was selling. But yeah, so it's just interesting to think my mom was an MLM, which, and I can see how that can be something that mostly women get into to earn a little bit of extra cash if they don't have a job, or if they have a job and they aren't earning enough. It's like their side hustle. I should have just... I'll write in the description what an MLM is. Multi-level marketing. It's basically a pyramid scheme, but under false pretenses. Because my mom would try to recruit other people, and I think that she realized that she wouldn't be able to recruit other people. So she just kept herself to selling the books, and it's just so hard to sell those books. But yeah, I know that some of my favorite books growing up were some of the books that she was selling from there. There was this magic trick book that was I loved it, Tips and Tricks it was called. And I really wanted to learn the magic tricks from that book. Also, there was also a book about Romans, a handbook for the Roman soldier or something. And so it was basically like the handbook would talk to you as if you were a Roman soldier in the Roman times. And the pictures were funny, and I found it nice, and I think that really helped me to learn to read when I was small. The only problem is that, yeah, okay, so my mom probably lost money on that because she did not manage to sell the books that she got from Usborne. And yeah, my mom was technically unemployed, but without the unemployment benefits that you can get from France, because she hadn't worked in France long enough to get the benefits. So yeah, right now my mom is trying to deal with her retirement. I don't know how much retirement she will get, honestly, because she hasn't worked regular jobs. Like she's worked at the university teaching English and such, but she was never like a licensed teacher. She was always like just a temporary worker. So it's just, I can see how MLMs can prey on, like these stay-at-home moms, that kind of thing. My mom was forcibly a stay-at-home mom because, well, France employment is kind of a mess, especially if you come from another country. So yeah. Anyway, I'm going to end this video now because I need to move to somewhere that's less windy. But yeah, tell me your thoughts. Have you been involved in an MLM at some point? Have you had any experience with cults? I'd be interested to know. So, bye.